we're going live today. I was just itching to work on this and just get a little bit closer to finishing it. And yeah, so it's actually what I'm very quickly going to do, because not only was I itching to do this, but I just realised that I haven't used my Wacom tablet for God knows how many months. Because all my work has been in Illustrator or Blender, and it's just always been using the mouse. So now I'm just like glad to be back. So I'm just gonna like do a couple of practice brushstrokes and then just keep working on this. Maybe I can add some more details to the environments and the sort of more closer characters. And now that I look at it, I wonder if some of these characters here are like the right proportions. I think these characters are. I might have to rework that one a little bit more. Might do something there. Make them just a little bit shorter. But I think they're sort of right. But I'll take 5 minutes out just to quickly re-equip myself with the layer structure and if there's any funky stuff done with this file. I mean, all of this is obviously for the perspective stuff. But I'm also going to really quickly just check my feed. How do I watch myself? How do I watch myself? Okay, cool. It's all good. Right, and then the only other thing I want to do is just put a shout out on Facebook, just any folks who are still haven't quite either got to sleep or are just waking up from a hangover. They can come chill out with me and they can tell about all their problems. And we'll go to Twitter as well. I should probably add a note saying I'm listening to disclaimer. Currently listening to Christopher Hitchens. You have been warned. boy. That's me out on Facebook and Twitter. So let's crack on, shall we? Okay, so apparently no more notes. What could we do? We could do a whole bunch of different things. Character fill. Okay. So, okay, environment and perspective. Let's actually just put those into character as well, I think. Okay, cool. Pavilion. Fuck. Do I want to do anything here? The only what I should have done in hindsight is I should have just put the arm, his right arm, back just a little bit more, so a bit more like that, as opposed to that, like flat on camera. Like it's just not pleasing to the eye, and it's also like in terms of perspective and motion, I don't think it quite works. But do you know what? I think I might do it. It's finished, so I'm just going to work on the rest of the environment just to get it further along. Now, first of all, so we got a sky, cool. We should have probably just a little bit more going on here as well. Only other thing I'll do. Post book crash chat. No. Working on old piece. Working on old piece today. I'll say this number 2. Okay, cool. Cool. Okay, Sandra Captain. What's going on, OJ? I've got to call you OJ because I've got no idea how to pronounce OGO. It's a thank you, and it's a really old. Well, I say old, it's about a year old. It's a character concept I was working on a while back, and I sort of lost steam on it because I had some stuff going on. But I've done like book covers and I've done a book cover and a lot of graphic design work since. But I thought I was lying in bed this morning. I thought, do you know what? I want to get back on Photoshop and get this in my hand again. You know. You got that right. How you doing? You good? I'm just I'm just sort of analysing what's going on in this image. I think the first thing that steps out to me is I've got to change the perspective on that. But do you know what? I'm done with this character for a little bit, so I'm just going to try and like bring up some more of the environment now. I've just finished sort of like acquainting myself with the layer structures here. Okay, so mid crowd. Well, first of all, I wanted to finish this damn thing, because this will be the second. I've been trying to force myself to finish a piece all the way through to the end. So I've got sketchbooks and sketchbooks full of just tiny little, nice little, let's see, like just bits and bobs, just like loads of little character sketches and loads of nice sort of like little, I'll call them illustrations or whatever. So I've got like sketchbooks and sketchbooks full of this stuff where I just never sat down and thought, do you know what, I'm going to work on these and work them through to fruition. Like, colour, rendering, post effects, all that funky stuff. What is a nice one I've done recently? One of my favourite ones. Ah, here it is. So I've got a couple of favourites here. So that one. That bad boy. Yeah, player. Anyway, point is, I need to get myself just used to finish, I'll show you another one I've done. This was probably 2 years ago now. Kind of bad I want to be a character concept artist or illustrator, and I'm just like, oh yeah, I do like one every year. But yeah, here's one I made earlier. And I kind of like it. I'm proud of it. Probably needs a little bit more form around here. I sort of like the lighting. I'd have to change the design of the sword because I was just kind of making it up as I go, but I hear your struggle, buddy. I hear you. Anyway, let's get cracking. Do you know what? What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? So let's put some notes up very quickly. Face mark and the hoodie. Cool. Do you know what? Actually, we'll move that just across. There's no use being there anymore. Okay. To right hand perspective. By the way, I hope you don't mind what I'm listening to. I mean, just I've turned it down a wee bit. More arc in the hoodie, face. Alright, let's put a few more buildings in far background. And what else? I think that was it. But in the meantime, just add more and more detail and geometry and stuff like that. What's wrong with that? Thank you. It's very kind of you to say. I need to just get used to just continuously working. I'm a graphic designer. I like on the side as well. So I've got so many projects that I need to. Like there's a part of me that says, you know what, Sam, you need to cut down a couple of your projects so you've got more time to do this stuff. But to be quite frank, I want to figure out how to get paid to draw. Like however I do it, just roll. Like this is. I like the pose. Again, it's just that right arm is just kind of just a little bit bothering me, you know? It's big enough. I think we'll bring it down just a little bit. I think we could afford to bring it down to just about there. And I'll tell you what, oops. I'd have to add just a little bit of line here, but that's fine. Yeah, I like the pose too. I'm happy with the character. The character's done. What part of me really could just be proper lazy and say, do you know what? Just put like a nice bar here, a box, and just go. You've seen some Guild Wars. If you've seen Guild Wars character concepts, they do that, but they do like a really nice little banner behind the character and says Guild Wars. Like it's a character concept, not like a illustration, like a whole illustration. But I don't want to do that. I want to, but I want to do like a full character in his environment. So what kind of stuff are you working on, dude? Is it how do you pronounce it? Can you is it Ohio? Is it OJ? Is it what do you prefer? Or I could call you Frank if you want. I really don't mind. Oh, it's a Nightbot. Hello, Nightbot. Geo. Nice. Oh right, Zero Geo. Got it. What's that short for? Let's look at my reference sheet. See if I've got anything for environments. Yes, very nice. Ah, just closed it, you bastard. Tell you what, G, if you want something to do, I am gonna commission you for free. Gioni. Gioni, but spelled different thanks to my mum. That's cool. I like it, Gioni. Gioni. Sounds like one of those cool characters who's like a let's say an expert swordsman or something like that. What are we do? What are we gonna do? Send a message to Gioni. Gioni. Yeah, this is actually a stream of like trying to finish a concept. This is trying to get Sam to pronounce the fucking names right. Nice. Yeah, if you've got I want to recruit you for free, if that's okay. If you've got ideas or pictures of streets that you think would blend into this nicely. So I'm trying to figure out what kind of... I don't really know sort of the style of this building. It looks slightly Asian because of the way that it's... because of the roof, but I think I could also make it look slightly Mediterranean, just like simple slate tiles. But I don't know if it should be clay or brickwork. My V was disabled. Your V was disabled? That sounds like a innuendo. Oh, Giovanni? Is that it? Giovanni? See, now I'm just like, get the painter. Giovanni. Giovanni. What language is it? Is it Italian or... I don't think it doesn't sound Greek. Do you know what we should actually be doing? We'll put this on another way. Sketch copy 2. Just in case. Nice. How's the weather in Italy at the moment? Tell you what, if I'm sorry, so question for you. When I decide to ride there on my motorbike as part of a road trip, where would you suggest I visit? I mean, like, one of the culture capitals of the world, I know, but word of mouth from one of the locals, like, where would you recommend, you know? Wicked! Good man, Sam. A little bit of racial profiling there. Maximum effort, Samuel. Alright, so if I want to do a bike trip to California, where should I go? Wow, you got a Venice in California too? No, fair enough. I've got some friends who've been there as well, and they're just like, oh, you know, I need to ride there before it, before it goes underwater. You know what I mean? Should these? I think I'll make these clay actually, as opposed to brick. So, have you been to Venice? I take it. I could see the benefit of the beach, but at the same time, just like sand, I just fucking hate sand. It gets everywhere. It's pointless. Sand is utterly pointless. Like you go there, it just always ends up like scratching your feet, scratching up your skin. Always ends up in your underpants, and you're just like, what? Why? Like, what? God, what does this purpose? Does this fill? Sorry, if there was one, but anyway, if I thought there was one. Yes, preach it, brother. That's like thought of the day, thought for the day, even quote of the day. Dang. I am from a little place called London. It's okay, so it's weird. I'm from a place called Essex, and we're kind of famous for having like this proper like I don't know how would I define an accent or the Essex accent. If you watch anything from The Only Way Is Essex, just watch that TV series or that reality TV show, which I personally hate. I think I don't want to trigger myself. But if you watch that TV show, that is supposed to be the standard classic way that Essex people sound. However, most people think I come from Cambridge or something like that. And depending on how deliciously silly I want to be on a day, I can either sound either a bit like this, a bit more heavier, a bit sort of. Sometimes I get sort of heavier into my accent. I'm just like, show what, just fuck it. I just sort of like blend all my words together like this. I can't be bothered to speak. Or if I'm in the mood, I should be rather just a little more eloquent. Yeah, when it suits me. Whatever. So answer the question is Romford, which is in Essex, which is north, but it's just northeast of London, and we're just outside it. So we're kind of like, we're kind of like hybrids. So we know how to speak the local Essex lingo, yeah, but at the same time we know how to look good in a suit if we're going to central London. So.
quite rightly, as Marie points out, wasn't built on the sailing of England. Well, picture the church as if it had not done that. Are you talking about the same formidable multinational force? No, you're not. Have they disowned what they did? No, they haven't. Are there not still continents all around the world where prayers are paid for and said for the souls of the dead so that there may be remission from sin, measured, by the way, in years and decades? Or, if you've paid a lot of money to the church, maybe centuries of penance, as if the Gregorian calendar is used for matters of eternity and influence. But the pathos, obviousness of this thought still goes on, and Ratzinger himself receives it. He insists
give me a really, really boring subject. We'll see if we can make it sound a bit more exciting or interesting. But don't make it something like, well, actually, I could say banana is an exciting thing to talk about, but I don't know. Masonry or something like that.
their child. I'm not neutral about this. I don't think those statements are what they clearly are: man-made, silly, pathetic, and erroneous.
Is that how this should work? Well, first of all, I'd have to like re-sketch this because the geometry won't work otherwise.
It's an evil doctrine. It's a wicked doctrine.
Anyway, thank you for the compliments. Appreciate it, buddy.
Quite wisely, which is quite true about him. Real power over real human beings of a really absolute sort in the early world is God himself.
Let's add just a little bit more geometry to these characters. Let's see what happens.
Here we are determined. We reject this totalitarian of this doesn't mean materialism sounds bleak. It may be made to sound bleak in the average world. It doesn't mean there's no realism in how things happen.
Neck is just a little bit high. Let's bring it down just a wee bit. Or lasso even.
If I'm asked to describe what I think has happened to a child whose body has been mauled by the sanity of the earth, and such child who has been destroyed and burned in fire, I say, though they would contest it not the least in the interest of their country. Doesn't make it, by the way, an acceptable reason for cruelty. But I could have picked another example. Let's say, if I was asked what's happened to this kid, I'd say his soul has been destroyed. I wouldn't say that one implies much. I would need an extra word. It would be not enough to say this kid has been not abused, which is pathetic. Our language, our secular language, our journalistic language, is in grave danger, I think, of becoming morally indecent. Abuse in the form of rape and torture and prolonged destruction is Germans Commonwealth, Zollner, wouldn't want to be without him. I would affirm that genuinely, just as an affirm that the word evil is absolutely necessary. And should I go on and say that, because I feel I've even smelled it. The sense of the way to get with racism on the other side and say this. Describe it in my materialist mode as the surplus value of dictatorship. Evil in full dictatorship wants evil and cruelty, not for its own interests, but because it will serve its turn, it will kill its enemy. That's too evil to expect. No, righteousness is the better result. It will do them even if it risks the stability, the reputation, the profitability of the people. It needs cruelty, needs murder, needs the real, authentic stench of evil. But I claim that you felt in my nostrils. Any account of that
Now we could point, but I think someone else is pointing there. Yeah, there we are. So we won't do that.
morally thin and historically emaciated.
History. I tell you what. I'll tell you a very cool story. Or a number of very small stories. No, I'll tell you about my experience when I went to France with my father about 10 years ago now. Alright, but no, it's 2019 now. So back in June, there was the D-Day. It was the 75th anniversary of the D-Day landing. So, don't know if you know World War II history much. I don't know, but June 6th, 1944, there was a massive operation to land American and British troops into France, so they could try and retake, I suppose, European mainland, or at least get their boots back on the ground to try and push German forces back, who got as far as they got. I mean, they were getting as far as Russia, the southern borders of Russia, the Kremlin, and they got as far as. I mean, they pretty much dominated France at the time. And this was, I think it was just about a year or so after Dunkirk, so the Brits need to get like a proper foothold again before, Britain was next, basically. Anyway, now most people know D-Day through, the famous TV series Band of Brothers, that HBO special, but also, Normandy, that's right. So Saving Private Ryan and all these sort of films and Bridge Too Far. There's all these classic films, right? But with respect, they are beautiful films and TV series. Like they paying their homage to the all the hard work and the sacrifices people made during this time period, right? But when you go to France and you see the museums and you see the U.S. memorial site they have there, that stuff sobers the soul. It stops you in your tracks. It sort of brings up a question of mortality, but not so much. It's just if you just Google photos of the U.S. memorial at Normandy, or in France in the Normandy region, you'll see this place where there's almost 10 or like close to hundreds of thousands of just perfect marble white gravestones, and you can walk. It's like 4 or 5 football pitches, just stuff stops you in your tracks. Anyway, but what I find far more exciting and fascinating is the amount of planning that went into this operation. Again, these TV series, they show the hard fighting and all that sort of stuff, but no one ever stops and says, do you know what? Someone came up with the idea of moving something like over like hundreds of thousands of troops across the channel, the English Channel, and deploy them in a tactical fashion into France. I could barely organise 10 people to go to the same fucking pub in central London to make sure they're all there for like 7 PM on a Friday night. Let alone move hundreds of thousands of troops with their kit and making sure they don't get shot down or like sank in the process. But if you don't know, it's broken up into 5 beaches. Omaha, Utah, Juno Gold Sword. Gold Juno Sword. Yeah, Gold Juno Sword, Omaha, Utah. Americans took Omaha and Utah. I think there was a few Americans in the 3, because you had the Canadians who took Sword Beach as well, I think, and then you had Gold Juno, which is Brits. And this will be the eastern side, right? And that side is where we had Pegasus Bridge, and the idea is we had to stop. Any tanks advancing onto the rest of Normandy. There was a couple of bridges that we had to hold to make sure that they couldn't advance on the beaches as we were getting in. Now, there's a number of interesting stories of what they did during, during, and after in terms of preparation. For example, there was a number of. Do you know what? I'm going to quickly pause Christopher the Great Hitchens while I'm doing this. Before the operation, there was I think it must have been a Royal Air Force squadron that flew over the more towards Calais, which is like the closest bit between England and France. So that's where the Germans were probably expecting us that we'd make our landing, right? A number of bombers were outfitted with a set of capsules filled with like basically aluminium foil, like shreds of aluminium foil. And they did this zigzaggy line from England to France. They did this zigzaggy pattern, and they're dropping all these massive aluminium filings. That was to fool German radar systems in Calais, So the Germans thought, "Mein Gott!" And they, assuming that the Allies were coming in force, in a massive force towards Calais. So what the Germans did was they deployed all of their tanks across Pegasus Bridge from north. They pulled basically everything along the coast to Calais. Day after that, or that was on the morning of the operation, or just about the day before. The Germans had basically pulled all of their heavy artillery units and all of their heavy dealing tank units. They pulled them all the way to Calais, and beautifully timed. We deployed pretty much just as they'd left, or just as they'd arrived in Calais. So that's one thing, first of all, and the amount of effort that was gone into working with the French resistance, who was able to provide copious amounts of intel, a cornucopia of intel, roadmaps and positions, and gun in place and stuff like that. Crucial intelligence. And they had special radio broadcasts with signals in them, so the French resistance knew when to grab their torch and pitchforks and fight. Which is a slightly weird one, because I think there's a story there. Something like the message never came, or something like that. But the leaders of the French were just saying, "Just wait, attendez, attendez, mon ami, mesdames et messieurs, mes frères et sœurs." I suppose you could. I don't know how the French would have said it. I just realised this thing looks like a fucking rolling pin. Anyway, so that for starters was incredible. And then there's two more stories that really fucking blew my mind, right? The first one is there's a place that you'll have to Google, and it's called... Shit, mate, what is it called? This looks like a fucking rolling pin. What was it called? Two. Called Death. They might call it Death Valley. The Falaise Pocket. That's right. Battle of the Falaise Pocket was the decisive engagement of the Battle of Normandy in the Second World War. Having taken Chamboise, two of the Polish battle groups drove northeast and established themselves on. I remember because we went there. Me and my father and a couple of his friends. We went there. They took a hill. It was like something like Hill 79, something like that. Polish. Okay. Falaise Chambois Pocket. Germans began to withdraw. Gaps were forced in Allied lines by German counterattacks, the biggest being a corridor past 1st Polish Armoured Division. Hill 262. Right, so this is right. Imagine this massive flat plain. Well, first of all, imagine you're a German soldier. You've lost all the beaches. You're in absolute chaos and you're on the run. You're trying to think, how the hell do I get out here without getting nailed on the way? Most of you enjoyed it. Nice. Well, mate, trust me, there are fascinating stories. You've just got to find A, the right stories, and B, the right storyteller. Alors, so imagine you're a German soldier. You've somehow survived the first assault from the Normandy beaches, or you're probably a soldier that was at the back, not on deployment, and you're having like a sort of a cup of tea and a strudel, probably a cigarette, and all of a sudden your officers are like, "Everyone up! Time to run now!" Or you've just again you've gone to engage the troops and it just hasn't worked out, so now you're on the run. Hello, who's this? This is little key. I know who's just messaged me. Sorry. Anyway, so yes, Falaise Pocket. You're a German soldier. You're on the run. You've got to figure out how to get back to Germany, and you're in sort of the thick of it in Normandy. Now, You can't go west. You can't escape to Spain because Omaha and Utah, American forces are pushing all the way south, and they've literally hooked right around under you. I was about to say to give you a reach around. No, let's not go there. You can't go north, obviously, because that's where all the men are deploying to. You can't even go southeast because the Poles have just taken a number of hill positions and have boxed you in. Right? Can't go east because the British troops have taken most of the bridges between Calais and sort of Belgium and essentially Western Germany. You can't get out. You're trapped in this massive plain, which is now called the Falaise Pocket. I'm trying to think of like a massive. I don't know any like massive American plateaus. Just almost flat as the eye can see, except for a few trees. You're basically in this. Imagine like sort of a flat plate, and then you're sort of surrounded, like mounted by a few giant hills and like hill ranges and stuff like that. But when you stand on Hill 262, where there's a museum which tells you about what the Polish did to hold these positions. When you're there, it's a photo of me standing there. But anyway, so you're a German soldier. You've got to fight your way through the Polish battalions to get out. But the Poles have taken control of a number of strategic bunkers and hills, so you can't get out. You try and figure out. You've tried and tried to push through, and you just can't quite pierce it. So you're trapped, along with another 50,000 troops and lines of what were in those days armored people carriers, jeeps, major traffic jams on all the main roads trying to get out. And then the shelling starts. 50,000 or more Germans, literally the biggest shooting a fish in a bucket. Absolutely decimated. They were just gone, right? To the point where, again, in the museum where this bunker is, or where one of these hills were, Hill 262, when you go in there, they've got a number of exhibitions where they'd recovered some of the wreckage from these shelled vehicles. Now, what am I going to make this guy look like? First of all, we know the perspective is going to be of that sort of behaviour. Anyway, so in this museum, you've got a number of Jeep wreckage, right? Now you can imagine, you'd be expecting something like these Jeeps to be a sort of a green, like a tactical green colour. Something like that. Maybe a few browns, a few khakis in there, things like that. This thing was bright orange. It had been shelled so much that the chemicals in the paint had basically just melted and rusted. It was almost radioactive orange, right? And it's not. I'm not saying that for effect. It was, you know. I don't know if Kim Kardashian is particularly orange, but if she's got fake tan on, it's that kind of orange. Not a colour not naturally of this world, shall we say? Which obviously it is, but okay, that's for theatrical effect. And just imagine, like 50,000. If that happened to metal, imagine what it'd do to skin. Just imagine the pure carnage. I can't imagine any German soldier making it out of there. A, alive. B, mentally unscathed. Could you imagine the PTSD that guy must have gone through? Absolutely. Or the Cheeto in office. Yes, Cheetos. Exactly. God. Imagine a blown up vehicle just smothered in Cheetos and you're halfway to the Falaise Pocket. Fuck me. What a load of rubbish. Yeah, so just Google Falaise Pocket. I'm going to type it into chat actually. Falaise Pocket. That's one of my favourite stories. Well, favourite. That's one of the best stories I have about D-Day. And the second one, because I won't bore you with too much because I'm supposed to be fucking painting here. Class of session students. Oh, that'd be kind of cool. That'd be kind of like cool YouTube page to start. Having some sort of like, basically me just doing very quick snippets on history. You know, just while I'm doing stuff like this. Today we're going to talk about morphine suppositories. A history of... oh, stop it, Samuel. And, yes, exactly. I've got to draw the Falaise Pocket. I've got to draw a morphine suppository. Yeah, anyway. Second cool D-Day story I've got is... I don't know, it was off the... Okay, so now you've got to take your mind to one of the American beaches, I think it is. I think it's between Juno and Sword, so it's slap bang in the middle. Now, you might have heard of a place called Cherbourg, and it's just southwest of... does that look right on webcam? Southwest? Yeah, that's right. It's just southwest of Normandy, where all this action's happening. This little peninsula that pokes out. A place called Cherbourg. It's one of the biggest ports, or docking ports, to take. Now, unfortunately, this is another one of those locations where the Germans thought this is where they are possibly going to try and land, so they can get their tanks off the boats relatively quickly. Now, Eisenhower and Montgomery, in their wisdom, thought, shit, we can't do that because we're just going to get nailed on the way in, which they would have done. So they just think to themselves, what are we going to do? How are we going to get... How are we going to find a port to get our tanks and armoured units onto the beach tactically and successfully? How can we do that? I know! We'll fucking build one! Literally. What they did was they built a number of, I think we call them flotillas, basically giant boats that you could tie together which could turn them into a floating fucking barge. This thing was huge. If you just Google photos of it, like, I'm going to quickly do it now. Went to one of these museums. It was a relatively small one, but it had like a realistic model of this sort of barge and flotilla. This artificial port that they built, and they fucking dragged it across the channel. If you said this to someone, imagine if you were a business, right? Try and think of an analogy. Like, I was actually thinking of Elon Musk then. Imagine you're running SpaceX. We're like, do you know what? We need to get some rockets so that we can modify and deploy them and, you know, do whatever we want to do. And Musk just turns around and is just like, fuck it, let's just build one. Right, Normandy. Okay, floating port. Floating port. What do they call it? Mulberry Harbour? Is that it? Mulberry harbours were temporary portable harbours developed by the United Kingdom during the Second War to facilitate rapid offloading of cargo onto beaches. They built a fucking... they built a fucking port that they built a port that goes from somewhere to nowhere. It's like, you know, it's like building just one airport. You can fly from here to here. Like, it's nuts. I fucking love it. So yeah, again, not a word of it in Band of Brothers, not a word of it in Private Ryan. But to be fair, in a film, why would you? You know, it's not crucial to the story. You know what I mean? You know what's funny? He probably does say that. He's Elon Musk for crying out loud. Yeah, he's just like, fuck it, we'll just build one. You know, we're trying to, you know, right now he's doing Neuralink. Do you know what? I can't be asked to use thumbs, or, you know, thumbs typing out a message. Your bandwidth is 2. You've got only 2. Fuck it, let's just use your head. You know what? Let's use mind control. Let's build something which enables mind control. Fucking madness. Right, so I've done a bit of an anatomical study. I think we're getting somewhere with this. I think we'll actually just merge these. Is that right? Yeah. Now what I need to do is take a quick look at how this is Captain of the Guard. Sorry, so in case you haven't quite figured it out, you're following our main character, who's what I call a wind talker. More on that later, probably in a much later time period. And he's chasing a vagabond through the street who's stolen something, and he's knocked a few people over in the process, which you're going to be hearing here, and then someone's just like, help, police, after them. And you've got like a few local towns guards, and they're like, someone stop that man, and this guy's just like, fuck you, I'm getting in like 5 seconds, or like he's vaulting over things, and it's like like the expression on his face is supposed to be thank God something interesting is finally happening. I'm gonna have to re-go over this expression just a little bit, but anyway, so I've got to try and figure out. And again, I don't want to get bogged down in too much detail here, because I must have spent probably about 30 minutes on about 5% of this overall picture. So I'm actually probably just going to not delete some of it. I think, yeah, while I was talking, I was just like sticking to my guns of what I know. So anyway, yeah, I've got to figure out a design for this sort of stuff. So will he have a helmet? Probably not, but these guys will. He has a sword. Will he have a cape? I think he'll have a cape, because it'll make him slow, make him slightly arrogant, shall we say. So we'll have it sort of go over the shoulders as well. A proper useless captain. Oh, cool. Thanks for joining me, Gio. You know, pop by if you ever want a quick history lesson. You know, next we'll be doing Vikings. But yeah, take care of yourself, buddy. Be well. If you like what you see or you enjoyed the live stream, feel free to follow or like any of my other socials. But I appreciate you for coming on and keeping me company. Good talk. I think I'll sort of... Will it have a hood? I don't think so, but it will have just a little bit of... This will practically just be in darkness anyway. Now, what will this look like? We'll make him look like a slightly like a Templar for now, just to have like some. It's basically just like a chainmail or like a bit of armor, and then it's just loads of cloth just to go at the top. Really. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna until someone talks. I'm gonna basically just keep it a bit stum and get on with it.
Everyone pays tithes to the Lord, or only one or two? No, who knows whose doors are open? No, both separately. Only if it is any day of any kind. One of you
God,
must
me.
build it yourself. This is the first time in history, still is, because in history we study numbers on the basis of the first two numbers, 1 and 2. Both classes are important. This announces itself through the secular, where the only mention of God in its constitution, except for the very vague preamble, is God, and all of religion, showing how and where philosophy is limited. It is only mentioned in order to be Wouldn't you like a law that said that non-elective surgery on private parts of the child should be enacted? Isn't it time? What a shanda, what a shame, what a disgrace that we still haven't got this far. We can't prevent the name of God and the name of faith. We can't mutilate these children. We can place them in the center of Now, you see what a long job civilization has taken in making it finally acceptable. But it took a long time. No rights and liberties applied before it's enacted. What is broken? Maimonides himself says that the point of war is to try and diminish the tyranny of the single element. Remember,
Let's give him a bit of a.
and to blunt it as far as possible while making it better. That's explicitly Kant's view. It's also why he says it must be done to a child.
Just a bit of a receding hairline. Says
Not
me.
do it. Now, if you want to practice this on people in Africa instead, so they'll not get AIDS, well, lots of luck. But that's not what the recommendation is. And any grown person, a person sexually active, who wants to do that may do it. I am not going to say how shocked here physically that it would be for me to take an African baby on my knee and remove and strip away its foreskin and prepuce on the off chance it might later be a sexual response. This is monstrous. It's like eugenics. It's like genetic engineering. We have no right, and we have no right to overlook what the true motive is. The same for male as for female, to carry on religion's enduring war against sex. He falls below the average standard of
Mm.
European men majority never voted for though they were ordered by the Catholic Central Parliament in the right to make monstrous reforms into the Chancellor. This record is very clear. This record is very clear. The Catholic Church comes before us as a transhumanism spokesman and has only just begun to acknowledge its disgusting and murky role and will never acknowledge enough as long as we remain in this country.
The moment we forget is the moment it will happen again.
Excuse me, I will take no lectures from Mary ever on any terms of religion. Enough. Or, what I mean to say is this. When I say religion is man-made,
That's why Brexit is such a horrendous idea.
being supplied,
Because it's going to lead the way for every other country to just fall apart. And then you're going to wish you bought those extra tin cans then.
man-made absolutely.
But we'll see.
Very simple.
Man, I got serious just then.
They are run by a few
Loved it. Let's check this out.
Orthodox churches. Let's not forget, the Orthodox ones respect God for creation. When you say Gentile or woman, you don't need to labor to the working class.
You can't quite see it from because of the sun, but I do that all the time when I'm doing D&D. The store owner, the barman, gives you a special ale. Love it. I'm tempted to do bacon and pancakes for breakfast. Anyone want some? Uh, I think it looks a little bit like that crazy dude from Grand Theft Auto. Actually, maybe we should make it that.
Otherwise, why do the tech departments say nothing about slavery? Nothing about
For two reasons. One, in this sketching phase, it'll make it a little bit easier just to figure out where the foreground here begins and ends, and the midground, like this dude, sort of begins.
and about 4 instructions on how to worship a very jealous, capricious, and
But also, it might help when it comes to selecting individual parts of him, or selecting him as opposed to here and here.
an enormous amount
So in this sort of more environmentally, in terms of in terms of the environment sketching,
way humanity actually
to take a look at it
under divine instruction.
from the big picture, which you'll see in a minute.
You must stop saying, and I meant to correct you for saying earlier, what I attack is what people do in the name of religion. They don't mistake religion when they make crimes. What I object to is what's in the original instructions. And these are instructions for rape, genocide, and
Actually,
sexual
maybe I'll just put a hint of tone in there as well. Just a hint of lighting. Just a hint.
So, what you just say, well, that makes takes a brief look at your insides. It's in rebellion against it. It doesn't know how it's done it. That's unnerving. You're in rebellion against it. What makes you think that people like me don't think for themselves? You deliberately went to college, and now you're in rebellion. How are you going to stop it? Now there's nothing that will stop it. Do you feel like you're breaking the law?
Yeah.
Well, you are plainly not. This is my point. It's terrible to accept what may be the poetry of a cruel and stupid person. And what is more nihilistic? What is more nihilistic than alienating until some lovely woman to enable you not there to use you, you have to consider yourself created incurably sick, and then order a rebellion to be heard. This is not morality. Man did not create God. Men and women created many, many, many gods, always have since the dawn of God, in history, and still do. One of those gods may be true, or it might be false, or all of them can be false, or all of them can be true. Not all of them can possibly be false, as the culture of attention, but all of them are false for the same reason. They are made up by creatures half crows, mostly chimpanzees, and I hope sheep.
Is that particularly darker?
Now you can see the word body friendly.
It's great. Do that for now. I'll tell you what we can do though. We can just lose just a few lines just to help along the forms just a little bit.
Took money from Charles Keating on that. A lot of that I seem to do very slowly. All to more prominence in their own name. Always unidentified.
Cool.
Now, in warning,
That's one dude.
this is not modest either. This is humility. Abortion morally. Abortion was morally important to her. She was entirely against anything illegitimate. I would say that revolution has led to an enormous increase in the amount of poverty, ignorance, filth, and disease in the world. And I would go the further comparison to it's of those things that the Roman Catholic Church has always fed and made for its living. And I'm not going to have Nazism for the sake of it. Don't mind. Give us another mango.
I'm very quickly going to make a cup of tea, and it's only for a few minutes, so it won't be too long.
Several times, starting very early on, and he's doing God's work.
I probably
They were bad people.
pause this while you wait. Yeah, you got another follow. Woohoo! Taking that time to educate folks and be nice pays off. Who'd have thunk it? two more, and I can get what do you call it? It's called a thing. Anyway, be right back. Cinq minutos, 200. That is me trying to be skillful and not burning my dick as I can with a cup of tea as I make it back to the desk. Did he just say dick? Yes, he just said dick.
I mean, think of that. Switzerland, which was made its first political city in Germany, with them and their church, and outside Germany between Napoleon and wanting to take the oil, wanting to have the United Provinces and take over the euro and asked to do it like this. I swear by Almighty God, and I ground your belt when you were talking nuts, and I mean, you had to wear a button that said, God behoots the German God on our side. But when Socrates pretended to be considered Socrates, there was ample blasphemy for challenging the gods of his people, and he accepted his death. He did say, well, we are lucky. That's okay, we can hold a conversation. We are the great thinkers and philosophers, no doubt Aristotle. In other words, that the discussion about what is good, what is beautiful, what is noble, what is pure, and what is true could always go on. Why is that important? Why would I like to have these things associated with the word country? Whether it goes on or not after I die, I don't know. But I do know that it's a conversation I want to have while I'm still alive. Which means the offer of certainty, the offer of complete security, the offer of confirming your faith can't be more, is an offer of somebody not worth having. I want to live my life taking the risk all the time that I don't know
Right.
whether I can.
Oh, I'll actually try and have this guy sort of looking at him. Or should we have that guy? I don't know. That guy certainly will.
A great army in Germany, Austrians wouldn't have it any other way. And I urge you to look at those people who tell you. Those people who tell you at your age that you're dead until you believe as they do. A terrible thing to tell you as a child. That you can only live, and that you can only live by accepting an absolute authority. Don't think realistically. Think that is a poison chalice. Push it aside however tempting it is. Take the risk of thinking for yourself. Much more happiness comes from that way.
Now that they come to know it, now that it becomes illegal is another question. Now that they think about it, now that they've stopped opposing it and trying to ban it, then they can say, actually, on second thought, the evolution was all part of the design. Well, as you will recognize later, there are some arguments that can't be expected to refute or rebut because there's no way around that. I mean, if everything, including evolution, which isn't a design, is nonetheless part of the design, then all the advantage goes to the person who's willing to believe that. That cannot be disproved. But it does seem to be a very poor and very weak argument because the test of a good argument is that it is falsified rather than it's unfalsified. So this I would therefore, this tactic, this stand at some evidence let me say, I would rebaptize, or dare I say, I would rechristen it as retrospective evidentialism. In other words, everything can, in due time, if you have enough faith, be made to fit. But you have to be able to imagine that all this mass extinction and death and randomness is the will of a being. Whether we had sex with, or in what position, or by what means. Cared what we ate or on what day. Cared whether we lived or died. There's no reason at all why this actually is completely indifferent to us. You cannot get from deism to theism except by a series of extraordinarily generous to yourself assumptions. The deist has all his work still ahead of him to show that it leads to revelation, to redemption, to salvation. I have to say that
Okay.
as monotheism. It's a bit like the arguments of free will. People say, well, how do you have free will? Do you think you do have it? Well, it's a very, very difficult subject indeed. Some religions say you don't in fact have it, that all is determined by heaven. You're really only a plaything in a larger game. I take that to be some of the point of Calvinism, though some schools of Islam also would say it is only as Allah wills. There's no will of yours really, as long as you're willing to make the prostration and the obedience. So the connection between religion and free will isn't as simple, as easy as some people like to think it is. But the Christian answer is, of course you have free will. The boss insists upon it. This somewhat degrades the freedom and redefines the idea of will. And it seems to me also that there's something degrading in the idea of saying that morality is derived in the same way, that it comes from on high, that we ourselves are not good enough, that we don't have the dignity, we don't have the self-respect, we don't have the character to know a right action or a right statement when we see it or we want to perform it. It's this servile element of religion. It's not strictly speaking the subject you are debating this evening, I know, and I'm damned if I completely forego it. It's the idea that buried in the religious impulse is actually the wish to be unfree, is the wish for an immovable, unchangeable, celestial
Ah,
authority, a kind of heavenly
Jesus.
North Korea that will take our decisions. It will take our decisions away from us and commit us only to worship and praise and thank a great leader and the Son, the dearly living,
That just happened.
forever and ever and ever. I'm so glad Joe is talking. Thank you. There are different schools of atheism, as you say, but there's no claim I know how to make that says atheism is true, because atheism is the statement that a certain proposition isn't true. So I wish you'd get this bit right, because it's there you go again. Well, I just devoted a little time to this. I said it is not in itself a belief or a system. It simply says
Oh, I'm in trouble.
Moral act. You mentioned things like apartheid and Nazism. Well, let me just run it by you. How this often comes up because people say, what about the crimes of wickedness of the secular world? The apartheid system in South Africa was actually a creation of the Dutch Reformed Church. It was justified theologically as the giving of a promised land to one Christian religious tribe, which everyone else was supposed to be heroes of the wind and drawers of the water. It wasn't until the Dutch Reformed Church under President Botha dropped their racist preaching
Give me a second, folks.
Case from the Quran, just for once. Does it? Actually, it's not the Quran, excuse me. Take a case from the Muslim Foundation of documents, the Hadith, which have been called canonical authority. They say if someone becomes an apostate, leaves or changes their religion, they must be killed. The sentence is death. Don't anyone be telling me that's a metaphor. No, it's just intended as a sort of general admonition. No, it means what it says, and it's been applied to a couple of people who now have to live, friends of mine, as a matter of fact, as political refugees in Washington, D.C., who know how true the impact of that hadith. There's no wiggle room there, so the question for a Muslim must be asked. Do you think this is the word of God, or don't you? Because if you don't, you're saying that God shouldn't be able to tell you to do an evil thing. And if you do, you're saying he should. In either case, faith falls as a reinforcement of ordinary morality. The Bishop of Carlisle recently, tipped untold to be the next Archbishop of Canterbury, said that the floods in northern Yorkshire that devastated a large part of England in the summer and killed and dispossessed a large number of people were punishment for homosexuality. Now, to connect meteorology to morality seems to me, I have to say, flat out idiotic, whichever way you do it. If there was a connection between meteorology and morality, religion has very often argued that there is. I don't see why the floods hit northern Yorkshire. I can think of some parts of London where they would have done a lot more good. Just as the hurricane that devastated New Orleans, we found punishment for sin as it must have been, left the French Quarter alone. You have to make up your mind on this. You either think God intervenes or he doesn't. I'm clear. I say, I don't think so. Will Dr. McGrath say that he does intervene? And that we can tell when he does? Or will he not say so? You have to ask him. You have to hear his answer. Does he say sometimes intervenes? Does he say he moves in mysterious ways? My position is clear. His remains, I think, distinctly opaque. It was the Archbishop of Canterbury, Geoffrey Fisher, who said the following: that a nuclear war, thermonuclear war, would only hasten our transition into a more blessed state into which we were bound to eventuate anyway. If I had told you that, Kumar, and asked you to guess, you'd have said Mahmoud Ahmadinejad said it, or some other fanatical verminous brother. No, the Archbishop of Canterbury said it, and why shouldn't he? Because another immoral and sinister thing about religion is that lurking under it at all
Yes.
times, in every one of its versions, is a desire for this life to come to an end, for this poor world to be over. The yearning, the secret death wish that's in all of it. Let this be gone. Let us move to the next stage. Is present at all times. If it's to be argued that our morality, our ethics can be derived from supernatural, then name me an action, moral action, taken by a believer, or moral statement uttered by one that could not have been made or uttered by an infidel unbeliever. I have tried this everywhere. From a large number of people, have not yet had even one reply. And if I was to ask you, can you think of a wicked action that could only have been performed by someone who believed they were on an errand track, there isn't one of you who would take 10 seconds to think of an example.
That's the kicker for
What
me.
does that tell us? I would say it tells us a lot. First, fascism, the original 20th century totalitarianism, is really, historically, another name for the political activity of the Catholic right wing. There is no other name for it. Frankilism, Salazarism, what happened in Croatia, in Austria, in Bavaria, and so on. The Church keeps on trying to apologize for it, can't apologize for it. It's the Catholic right, this thing. You can't quite say that about Hitler, National Socialism, because that's also based on
except by way of limiting it and saying that the state can take no interest in the statement effect. Best known in political rugby, the wall of separation, like the slogan, is Mr. Jefferson, build up that wall.
What your neighbour has just said, I thought was unusually good on this point.
You'll recall what he said on the Dostoevsky the other day. If God exists, we have to do what he says. If he doesn't, we can do what we like.
Now, just apply this for a second in practice. turn a slight non-servia, if I may be so bold, and take my chances with her. And that's the more ethical thing to do. I don't want torture, don't want human sacrifice, don't want authoritarian bloodlettings, smoking temples nonsense. Incantations
So there's a bug that keeps from flying right around my beard. It's getting annoyed by it.
for human weakness, a veil of tears. But it is in the Christian version that another, well, different kind of immorality is the worse kind of immorality is the wicked idea of non-resistance to law, and the deranged idea that we should love our enemies. Nothing is we have to defend ourselves and our children and our civilizations. We have to learn to educate ourselves in a cold, steady dislike of them and a determination to encompass their destruction. Who here heard anyone after September 11th in holy orders actually say that we must turn back to love these people? Did they dare say that? Of course not. They saw the emptiness, the futility, and the immorality of not saying if they even tried it. We have to bear all this stuff in mind. This is not moral teaching. We have to survive our enemies because we're about to destroy them, especially as they too are dominated by the hectic, maniacal ideas of authoritarianism.
Now, how should this guy look? Should he be like? I mean, he's gonna try and.
Destruction.
He's probably gonna try and slightly dodge his Windtalk, who does a mad dash over his food stall. So he'd sort of lean backwards, so sort of here,
The likelihood that whatever
and
you
he'd be
might think
looking
about
at
this
him.
person, a red light escaping at speed that none of us here are capable of really imagining,
Maybe a little bit further left, maybe.
towards the ultimate expansion and collapse of the universe, the heat death
Ah, oh, you fucking cunt!
we see.
I thought I got it then. It's right on my nose. I was like, fucking.
That the process of evolution by natural selection, just on our own tiny little planet, in its own tiny little solar system, is the only one on the horizon. Everywhere else, just in our little system, all the other rocks are either much too hot or much too cold to survive, as is much of our planet, which we know is for a long time being not recently on a climatic knife edge, and which is still there. Look, on this planet, 99.8%
this has been 2 hours, guys. I'm a bit pissed because I haven't actually done that much, or I have, but it's it's in such small portions of this image. But like I've done something today, so I'm going to stop it there. Thank you all for coming and keep me company, and thank you for the follows and the likes and the shares. I appreciate you all very much, and I'll see you all later.